at all. Thank you, mate. Appreciate that. Okay, guys, morning all. Thank you for attending. I'm going to start it straight away by introducing myself and share my screen. This morning's about coaching pathways that us at Cheltenham Town want to help and support any coaches coming through, any ages, from youngsters to experienced coaches that have been in the game but never actually gone through their badges. So on this morning, I'll introduce myself. My name's Andy Bevan. I'm the Football Development Manager for Cheltenham Town Football Club. I've got with me my two assistants for our Hereford Centre, James Duckworth. Morning, James.
Morning.
And Darren Brown, my lead FP assistant. Morning, Daz.
Morning.
And I've got also Sean Arrowsmith, who is part of our senior management team and also assistant to James with the lead YDP. Morning, Sean.
Morning, gentlemen. Morning.
Good man. Guys, so we've got a couple of you on this morning, but this is now being recorded, so any youngsters that want to come into it, we're going to give just a brief intro now, just a 2-minute little snapshot of their coaching pathways from Sean, Darren, James, and then myself at the end, and then how we can support and help you through your coaching pathway. And listen, any questions, not a bad questions, and I'm sure at the end you probably won't have any, but you want to share them or ask me afterwards, I'm more than happy with that. So without further ado, I'll introduce Sean. Sean, if you want to jump on board now, Sean's been with us now the last couple of seasons. He's joined with our 19s programme last season. He's now becoming James Lee YDP assistant. Sean, if you just want to give just a brief overall of yourself and your coaching pathway, mate.
Yes, morning, guys. I'm Sean Arrowsmith. Obviously, Andy's just introduced myself. But, coaching pathway started originally under 12 Barton Street girls football. And it sort of built up around that and found the love for coaching. An injury to my ankle stopped me from playing. Fell out of love with playing, but found a new lease of love for coaching. So sort of built on that through the years of coaching. So I've been coaching, about 15 years now. I would have thought something around that. Lucky enough to have some great coaching mentors building up through with the likes of obviously Andy himself, which was a great learning curve, and James Duckworth as well, two incredibly talented coaches. And they've led me on this coaching journey that I'm still pursuing now. So, I'll going forward, want to go head higher up the coaching badges, higher up the levels. But with the help of Cheltenham Town, it's made me inspired to be a better coach and view things a lot differently throughout the coaching forums and the four corners. So it's a really good learning curve to be part of Cheltenham, and it's a privilege to be part of it.
Brilliant, mate. Thank you for that, Sean. Much appreciated, mate. And just for those out there, we haven't prepped on any of this, and this is the gospel truth. So it's not a big me up sort of moment. This is and we purposely haven't prepped it because we want the honest feedback. And listen, the guys that obviously work for us at Cheltenham Town, we're always like that, forefront to the front, whether it's what you want to hear or not. Daz, if you just want to give the same sort of scenario as Sean has just done, please, mate.
Yeah, no problem at all. Mine's quite. I think mine. A lot of people can relate with. I took up coaching when my boys started playing football. So basically, I'd done a little bit before in the seniors game, but not a great deal. And then I started doing my leaders and everything when my boy started playing when he was about 6. He progressed himself as a little footballer and ended up into the centre. An opportunity came available, and Andy asked me if I join his team. I then did my C license, or my level 2, I think, in England that is. And then progressed to with the help of Andy, obviously, and all the guys around me. I progressed and did my B license a few seasons ago. And, I think that stood me in good stead, really. I've done a lot of junior coaching, and also I've taken on roles in adults football now as well. And hopefully the journey will continue and get better and better with the support of the club.
Brilliant, mate. Thank you for that. Appreciate it as always. James, if you want to just give a brief on yourself as well, please, mate. So James got 2 years ago into lead assistant to myself to basically running the football centre because my role within the academy has progressed. So we needed somebody. There's always somebody to step in when I'm not around, which is quite often. And James and Darren have done that. Darren oversees the FP ages of basically 5-year-olds to 12. because we've started mini Robins and James sees the 13s to 16s going to 18s next season. So over to you, James.
Thanks, mate. So yeah, like many, started off in grassroots with my lad, probably 2014, 2015. And I've always enjoyed the tactical side of the game, the technical side, and then just got the bug for it, as you do. All my badges are with the FAW, so started off with the Leaders Award, then progressed on to the CSERT, and was recommended by my mentor, then Lee Kendall, who I'm still in touch with, to do the B license as soon as possible. So qualified for the B license end of 2021, I believe, or July 2021. And I got an invitation from Andy to come in with Cheltenham Town and haven't looked back since. So I led the mixed age group, new age group of 13s, 14s for the first season. And then Andy asked me to apply for the YDP lead. And I didn't quite know there'd be so much admin. That wasn't on the B license module. But it's actually a joy to get out on the grass from time to time. But no, loving it. It's a great football club. There's no better feeling for me than being out on the grass or designing a session or especially match days. And we're constantly learning. You know, the National Coaches Conference that the FAW put on every year is fantastic, a 3-day event. And it's just watching the players develop, and you learn from Andy, who's a great mentor, a great boss, but also a very good friend. There's no better feeling. You don't come into coaching for money. It's a real satisfaction to see teams develop and players develop. So yeah, I'm proud to be here. It's great stuff.
Thank you, James. Appreciate that, mate, as always. Yeah, and I think the snapshot for you coaches on here, that is that the simple fact is, if you want to go into coaching in terms of for a financial sort of benefit, whilst it will cover expenses and things like that, it's certainly not a pathway that you want to go into as if you were going to go into a professional trade like an accountant, a solicitor, financial markets, whichever. But what it does give you, which none of those will give you, is that immense pride and, you know, seeing people and players develop, boys, girls, all the way through from young ages to like, I've been in this quite a long time now, over 20 years, and they say in anything it takes, to get an expert in anything, it takes 10 years, 10,000 hours. Well, I've done that. Am I an expert? No, I am learning every single day. Even this week, I've learned some big lessons. So, you know, that on screen at the moment is a snapshot of myself. And I've, you know, looking at it, majority of it is in probably semi-pro football. But I think the bottom one is probably my most proudest, producing 43 players in 6 years. And that's changed now because that hasn't been updated for 18 months. So that has changed with just 2 more signed by Pro Academy within the last week. So that's going to be announced on social media soon. So it's all those sorts of journeys. And just touching on my journey for those that don't know. And I think a lot of the theme around this is that we're all probably ex-footballers that got injuries and failed footballers, if you want to say. But I think you only say failed in life. I never actually use that word. I say you're not quite ready yet. Rather than failed, because I don't think you ever fail. I certainly learned so much from my playing career that took me into coaching, and I so wish that had I done my coaching badges at an earlier age, whilst I was still playing, it would have made me a far better footballer. Because you understand the game totally different. Unfortunately, the downside to it is I can never watch a game now without working. You're always looking at something that you can learn and develop. And my journey started back in 2004. With just behind me, actually, put a little bit of land on my farm to basically, with work, I couldn't get to coaching all the time. I was always going to be running late because of work, trying to get there. So I asked if players could come to me, and the first ever one I did was with 3 players. Still in touch with those 3 lads to this day, and so they're in their late 30s now, which is kind of makes me feel rather old. But again, such a great reward for what you actually put into it. And I think we've evolved that. And like I said, this isn't a short-term fix. This isn't a short journey. It's something that can probably help you throughout your whole career and do it whilst you do your other things. And I think, like James said, whilst we go and do all our badges, etc., a lot of the admin is, as you keep going more and more and more, you're planning your sessions, it all helps build a portfolio base for you. So I went through my badges with the FA, and fortunate enough to pass mine in 2015, my UEFA A license. And at that time, if you imagine it, in Spain and Germany, they had 30,000 to 50,000 A licensed coaches in their countries. But in the FA in England, we had something in the region, I think, of about 2,000 A licensed coaches back in 2015. We were way behind the curve. I think it was the 2010 World Cup that England started to realise that we need to start producing our home. In 2012, we started the EPPP, which is the Elite Player Performance Plan, headed up by the FA. It's when I started to take my A license, and actually, quite ironically, going on from last night, Aston Villa back in Europe, and they interviewed Dennis Mortimer, who was the Aston Villa European Cup winning captain in 1982. And he was actually my coach mentor on my A license back in 2012. Again, those relationships you still with them. I messaged Dennis probably about 6 months ago. So you still keep those relationships right throughout your career. And I think that to me is the biggest success of it all. So it's great. I love doing what I do, working for a football club that support you all the way through, which Cheltenham Town do, which is fantastic. And I think this is where we want to try and help you. And I'm going to touch on, guys, a little bit of, so you've got an idea of what happens in terms of in the game, whereas how you now get into it, how can it help you kind of move into another pathway? And that sort of thing is back 4 years ago, one of my former players, obviously probably the most high-profile player that I've coached that's gone on to be a pro and represent his country and play at the World Cup, etc. But there was another player in that team, as well as Jared Bowen, was Will Haynes. Now, Will was in that team. Will was equally as good player as a team player, but suffered an injury, went to America on a scholarship. He played for his hometown club, Hereford. Then he went to America on a scholarship, playing, but suffered a bad injury out there, and then came back in, I want to say 2021, and wanted to join me in terms of the coaching pathway. And how does he get into it? He'd done his level 1, level 2. He was a young lad, 23, I want to say. I could be wrong on that one. But he said to me, how do I get into it? Because he wanted to then do he was a UEFA C license, so he'd done his level 1 and level 2, which is your level 1, and then UEFA C is equivalent to your level 2 in the FA system. He wanted to do his B license or and I just said that, he couldn't afford to pay the initial outlay, which was quite a large amount of money. So I said, okay, well, let's sit down, let's have a meeting, and let's see where we can take your coaching pathway forward. And what we tended to do then, we said, right, okay, so we got him on the course, and Cheltenham, we supported him through that pathway, and then Will worked off the financial implications around it so as that we could fund it, because he couldn't raise that money to do it. So it worked from that point of view. And Will now worked with me, alongside me, for the last 2-3 years before he got an opportunity to go back to America, which he wanted to finish his masters. He wanted to go back out there coaching. And whilst we talk about the financial implications, because that is important for you young lads, and we say there's not a lot of money in coaching. There is if you go across to the water and go to America and do it. It's superb out there. If you're willing to do that and willing to go and prepare to do that. Still in touch with Will out there now. He's absolutely loving it. Spoke with him 3 weeks ago, I want to say. Still absolutely loving it. He's traveling all around. We've also got 2 players currently still out there, one back home in the UK that have gone through a college program and gone out there and done it. And obviously, a couple of you guys that are here now that have done this college program now want to get into your coaching badges. And for me, it's a wonderful way of getting back into it. You will learn. You're still both playing the game, which is fantastic, but also it will give you that opportunity around how can I go on and progress and do a little bit more. So that's probably one of my highlights in terms of coaching, winning a game there for my hometown club and scoring a penalty, which was probably one of my biggest highlights. And also you managing to coach and manage in the FA Cup, which is still probably the greatest cup competition in the world. And, to do that was a wonderful thing. But also I'm going to share with you now a part of the screen that, is probably more relevant, because this was so far all about us, so it could give you an idea. I'll try and share that one and see if I can share tell me if you can see this, guys, because I don't know if it's going to come up. And you see that off the PowerPoint app or not?
Yes, mate.
Is it the
Finishing
coach?
green, yeah.
Sorry.
Breaking the box.
Brilliant finishing green that has
Yeah.
come. Okay. So this is like a session plan creator. So has that changed to the use the image? It's not sharing on my screen.
Yeah.
Yes, it's changed, mate.
Great. Okay. So these are little bits. This is a free template that we use at Cheltenham Town. So there's all the little tools and tricks that you need, and you drag and pull them across into little different session plans, how you want to do it. You mark up your pictures, sort of areas that you want to do. It's actually moving it on the screen now. So all these little things, and then ultimately it will combine into, you drag that in there and you create your session plan. But all of this is just to give you an idea of what we're trying to do, how we want to do it around the coaching kind of pathway, etc. James, Daz, Sean, anything that I need to add to these guys before I put the floor out to them and see what their thoughts are?
Not for me, mate.
Good this end, mate.
No. Okay,
Yeah,
brilliant.
no mentions of tactics table, Sean.
I'll save that for another conversation, mate.
I think what's great about that, like this as well, is the rapport that you have and the banter, and we all need this in the world that we live in nowadays. And you know, the war zones that are currently going on around the world, that if you can't have a laugh at your own expense, and I think that's where football banter is probably up there, along with a lot of other, as probably one of the most crucial things about what you do. It really genuinely is. So a couple of you that are on you now, what I will do is, rather than put the floor out to you and just say ask questions or whatever, unless you've got any, please butt in and just say to ask the questions. What I'll do now is I'll just end the recording, as in recording it, and then we'll stay online and I can then just ask you some other questions. So how do I do that? Oh, I did record it, didn't I?
Yeah.
Yeah, it did say at the start. Right, there's the red button. 2, 1. Okay. Are we still all on?
Mm-hmm.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay, let me try and see if I can see my screen. Sorry, I've gone outside because it's a gorgeous day and the sun is blaring straight in my eyes and I can't see a thing. Okay, so Harry, Max, Rich, basically, guys, morning, Rich, by the way.
Morning. Sorry, I'm late.
Hey, don't apologise, mate. Don't apologise. We've recorded it, mate, so I can share it back with you anyway.
Okay.
Guys, so for your three's journey at the moment, then, what are your thoughts? What are you looking to get out of it? And has this been interesting? And listen, don't turn around and say, yeah, it's been great, blah, blah, blah. Be totally honest, because, you know, we just want to help, and we can only do that if you're honest to us in that way. So I'll go in order of the ones that joined. So Harry, Bev, you'll be asked to speak in about 4 hours. So Max, if you want to jump on first, mate, and just say, you know, what's your thought process? Because I know, you know, in knowing you for a couple of years now, that you actually thought about the playing pathway into America, etc. So what's your kind of thought process where you're looking to head, mate?
I want to go further in my coaching, obviously, and try and get my UEFA in a couple of years. But with the college outcome, it was just the money and getting across to America that I couldn't really afford, which I wanted to do. I wanted to go to America and play, and then obviously when I've done my footballing career, I wanted to then go into the coaching. But it was just the money side of the America that I couldn't really afford.
Brilliant. Okay, mate. Yeah, mate, that's totally understandable. And obviously, did in your process, mate, and you know, feel free again if you don't want to discuss it, that's fine. Or if you do, that's fine. You know, listen, this is just an in-house. This isn't being recorded. This is just for us. Have you spoke to Will that I mentioned in the group, Will Haynes, about any of this, or have you not had a chance?
No, not had a chance to.
Okay. Well, because what can happen with that, mate, is obviously the scholarship program that we run in terms of with the BTEC, the American companies that come in and deliver it and that we've sent lads to America on it does cost money and it is quite expensive. The great bit about what we've got with Will Haynes on board is that we can do that without costing you a penny. And I know he's been in touch with a couple of people and have got them out to America because Will know what they need. So he did it through Hartpury. He went out he did it in Hartpury and then he went out to America. So he knows all the colleges out there, etc., and where they recruit them. So in terms of your pathway, what you're talking about, UEFA C, we can certainly help you go on that pathway. There's no issues with that at all. And it's gaining that. I always say to people, get on the courses as quick as you can. You might think you're not ready for them, but with how we can offer and help and support, then I think get on them straight away. Get on them, get the boxes ticked, because ultimately, at the end of the day, like I said earlier at the very start of this, to me, it's never a fail. So if they turn around to you and said, oh, you failed your C license, no, you're not quite ready yet. I failed my UEFA B. Did I fail it? No, I came home that night totally deflated because I thought, oh, I failed. I've let my family down. I've let everyone down. I got a phone call that night from somebody else on the course who was a pro player back in the day, and he offered me a job that night at his private soccer school. And it was over an hour away, because where we live in the backdrop of anywhere, everywhere's an hour away. So to me, and I said to him, but I just failed today. He said, yeah, but I saw your delivery. You're a very good coach. I want you involved. And so it's part of that journey pathway. And I'm still in touch again with that person to this day. So there's all that sort of industry that we can help and support that with. Harry Bev, what's your thought process, mate?
I want to get into coaching. I think it was about 2 years ago. I was playing for Cheltenham under James, and I was injured at the time, but I still went along, and I enjoyed going along, helping out with the warm-ups, being on the sidelines along James and Liam. And yeah, just since then, I've just wanted to really start getting into coaching, get my coaching badges done, and just get more involved in the game, whether that's at any level, really. Possibly as high as you've gone with you at Cheltenham Town, just anywhere, possibly Hinton, anywhere. Hereford.
Brilliant, mate. And I think that's the key of what you're saying, H, is having that mindset, growth mindset, to go anywhere. The worst part you can have is a fixed mindset and just say, I want to go down this route, because that route will change. I never thought I would be at this stage where I am to this day. You want to be somewhere else. You always want to get somewhere else before you're going to get there. You'll get there. It just mightn't be in the time scale that you think. So around that, absolutely, mate. And again, both you and Max, we can certainly help in sort of that sort of pathway. Rich, yours is probably a little bit different. What's your thought process, mate?
I only really contacted them to see if my youngest could go. Obviously, Finn's in the under nines.
Yeah.
And I wanted my youngest to start Mini Robbins. And then I got sort of added onto here. I did help Olympic last year.
Yes.
Obviously, I played a different sport, so I've not really got any football experience. But I'm happy to learn and just get involved. Really,
Brilliant, mate. Brilliant. Now, that's the key thing, and again, like I said, the probably the common denominator is we're all lads that have played the sport, been injured, so we've gone into coaching. Others are that we've come in with our children and started doing coaching, and I think they've all got a pathway around that. And so what we try and do is, a lot of initially when we started, I started the football centres back in 2012. It was just parent coaches, and I think that's evolved with those parents now getting their badges, as James has, as Daz has, as Sean is now a parent, and myself, that's how it all started. And I think that's where we want to support it. And I think, with the Mini Robbins, it's the perfect one. You can almost build a model around what you want to do, how you're learning. And listen, probably the most challenging as well. I say that, and I still nowadays coach 6-year-olds. To the other night, 32-year-old, very experienced ex-pro player having a right strop with me on in a semi-pro game. So all those sorts of journeys are evolving into what you want to do. So what I would suggest we'll do now, guys, is, because it's coming towards the end of the Zoom, unless you've got any questions that you want to ask now, and I'll give you that opportunity now in a sec, we'll shut this down, and then on the group chat, I can set up one. What I'll do is we'll set up one. I think we can keep it on the coach's pathway. We're all comfortable with it on there. If you're not, just let me know and we can change it. And share that how you want to now progress. We can start tomorrow night if you're all available into the Mini Robbins, into the Hereford one. And in that, there's probably between last year there was 40 or 50 players in there, and now we've got probably a maximum of 12. Now that might, crikey, what's happened to them? Well, what has happened to those group of lads are that we've put 2 teams extra into the Junior Premier League this season, under 9s, even though they're 7 and 8 years old. So we've done that because of the level of quality that was in those boys for that 12 months that they were coached last year. And I know, Rich, you came into quite a few of those sessions to help us, which is fantastic. So this is where I think the journey can start, and we can evolve it. And then we can talk about, right, okay, I want to try and get my UEFA C. I want to try and get on my first coaching badge. And I understand the money's tight and all the rest of it. So this is where we want to try and help as Cheltenham Town to support this and get you on your journey. And, it'll pay you back in spades. It really will. probably not so much in terms of the financial, but in terms of in there where you get everything and you learning and evolving as a coach and as a player and as a mentor, which somebody said to me when I started my coaching journey, oh, you're going to be a mentor to, I think there's nearly over 50 coaches that work for us under Cheltenham Town underneath me, and nearly 550 players plus. So, you know, I'd have gone, you're off your head, not a chance. But it's just brilliant, and I wouldn't have changed it for, you know, my journey for anything. It's been absolutely phenomenal. So, James, Sean, Daz, anything from you guys before we close in that we need to add or say, please, guys?
Just enjoy the journey. I think it's great that I think the most important thing is be a sponge. You come, and like you say, Andy, I don't watch a game these days without analysing it from a coaching or tactical point of view. So yeah, just enjoy the journey, guys. And H, keep your phone on.
Yeah, he's got it on. He just doesn't use it, mate. It's fine. It's on, but he just doesn't use it. Sean, Daz, anything from you guys?
No, all good this end, mate. So I'm just driving on the way to work. So there's a bit of road closure, so I've got to take a diversion about 20 minutes now.
Oh, don't use Harry Bev's excuse, mate. Traffic.
Yeah, I was just going to say that's H.
But the thing is, though, mate, I still rock up on time, though. I'm still like, I'm rocked up there, mate.
I think that's called planning, prepping, and being prepared, mate. It's a word.
Exactly that, mate.
H hasn't got that in his vocabulary quite yet. Do you know what I mean?
I'll take you under my wing, H, and I'll turn you the ways, mate. Don't worry about
it. Okay, guys. Any questions from any of you guys on the coaching journey all week? Anything at all?
No, all good.
Okay. And listen, guys, one thing that I would say, and probably a bit of advice, is that no question is probably the wrong question, because you will have thoughts now going through your head that you will say to your family, oh, you know, what about this? What about that? Ask questions of our knowledge, of our experience. And I'm not saying we're knowledgeable, but what we have got is experience. So any question that you have around football or coaching or anything like that, throw it in. And listen, if you don't want to put it in the chat, I would never worry about putting it in the chat. It never bothers me, because it's like I say, I've spoken to players this week, senior players, about our first team goalkeeper at Cheltenham, Owen Evans, came with us from Hereford. I signed him at 15 years old when we played a game against Merthyr Tydfil, and he's now in our first team at Cheltenham. And I was chatting to him a couple of weeks ago at an under-18s game, and he just said, I always love the fact I can just ask anything. What comes into my head, can I ask you that question? And I was always worried, oh, he'll sound stupid, or you'll turn around and you might know the answer, and you're thinking, well, why would you ask me that? And he said, and I said, that's the great thing, is that if we don't have the answer, we're bound to know somebody that could have the answer. And it'll be an experience that we may have had that can help share you on your journey. You might say, yeah, but I want to go to Hartpury University. Then I want to go to America University. How can I do that? How will that work with it? We'll know people that have been there, done it, and got all those sorts of things. So by all means, just throw it in there. And listen, and if you can't do some stuff that we ask, again, don't worry about it. You're not letting anyone down. That's why we've got such a huge pool of coaches and players and staff that we want to have to help and evolve it, because we've got lives outside of football, which, no, perhaps we haven't. But if we did have lives outside of football, it would be kind of good. But yeah, so listen, don't ever worry about asking any of those questions, if that makes sense. So, guys, we're down to the last minute. I would just like to thank you for this morning. Really appreciate your time, eventually, Harry, coming on this morning and being part of this. And listen, I hope it helps a little bit what we've done this morning, but also I'll share a video link of it so as you can share with your family, etc., so as they can look at it, and they may have questions around it as well. But other than that, guys, I wish you have a wonderful day, and thank you very much for your time, guys. Thank you, guys.
Cheers, guys. Take care.